So even if traders had an edge handed to them, they wouldn't know what to do with it. Yesterday I talked about an experiment where a group of financial professionals sat at a computer. They had a computer game. You flip a coin, heads or tails. They had $250 they could bet on heads or tails. They could flip the coin as many times as they want. They could bet as much as they wanted, but it was rigged. They told them in advance that heads would show up 60% of the time. I asked what your strategy would be. Would you guess heads? Would you guess tails? How much would you bet? $20, $25? How many times would you flip the coin? If you want to think about it now, pause the video because I'm going to give the answer. So here's what they got wrong. They didn't have a strategy. They would bet heads sometimes, tails sometimes, $5, $25. Most of them lost their money. They went broke. These are a group of financial professionals. They had an edge and they didn't know what to do with it. What was the edge? 60% heads. You know that's your edge. So the answer is simple. You bet heads every single time because you know it's going to play out over time. 60 out of 100 will win if you bet heads. 600 out of 1,000 will win if you bet heads every single time. Sure, you're going to have a down streak or you're going to have a losing streak, but you bet heads every single time. Now, the other question is, how much do you bet of that $250? Do you bet $10? Do you bet $25? Here's how it works. Now, the Kelly criterion, once you have your inputs, you put it in. I'm not recommending it. This is not financial advice. Kelly criterion is a very aggressive strategy, but it's just cool to know the math and how it works. So your two inputs are your win rate, 60%. You know you're going to win 60% of the time if you do heads. And your second input is your risk reward. On betting a coin flip, it's 1-to-1, right? You risk 5 to make 5. You risk 50 to make 50. And trading is different. You can get a 3x. You can risk 50 to make 500 or 300 or 150. But in this example, it's 1-to-1. So you put those inputs in the Kelly criterion and it gives you a percentage. In this example, it's 20%. So based on that, you bet 20% every single time on heads. And this is how it works. On all bets, you bet 20% on heads. Bet one, 20% of $250, which was the balance they were given, is $50. You bet heads, you lose, just say your balance is now $200. On bet two, you risk 20% on heads. Your balance is $200, you risk 40, that is, and if you lose, your balance is now $160. Now on bet number three, you bet 20% of your $160, that's $32, you bet heads, just say you win. Your balance is now $192. Now on bet number four, you bet 20% of $192, that's roughly $38. You're betting more. The previous bet was $32, now you're betting $38. So when you're losing, you're betting less. The dollar amount goes less. Even though it's 20%, you're still betting less. When you're starting to win, that dollar amount increases, even though you're still betting 20%. So you have to let the edge play out. You can't bet 3 times or 6 times or 20 times. You let the edge play out until you're on that winning streak, until your balance increases. You can't go broke if you're betting 20% every single time. Now apply that to trading. In Kelly criterion, you have to know those inputs, your win rate and your risk reward. Do you know your win rate? Are you winning 60% of the time or 20% of the time? If you're winning 20% of the time, your edge will never play out. If you're winning 55% of the time or 60% of the time, your edge is going to play out. Then you have to know your risk reward. Are you risking $1,000 to make $100? Are you risking $1,000 to make $1,000? You have to know those numbers. I know my numbers. Kai's telling my numbers, and this is one of the reasons why I've gotten better over time.